Hey guys, welcome back to another hero guide. Today we'll be going over Maiev, who in my opinion is the best melee assassin in the game, and a big reason why is because she's good throughout the early game, mid game, and late game. And so today we'll be going over Q build Maiev, which in my opinion is her strongest build and my preferred build, but I think you can also play E and W build as well, and she is very versatile, and that's one of the reasons why I like her so much, and also why I think that she's one of the most fun heroes in the game is because she's got a lot of different play styles. She's very dynamic, and you can really be creative when you play her, and she also feels like one of those heroes that every time you play her, you feel like there's a lot more you could be doing or a lot more that you could have done. So because of that, she really feels like an adventure to play every single time. But yeah, but for today we'll be going over the Q build. And before we go over the build though, let's talk about some maps that she's better on, maps that she's worse on, and also like some common counters, and also when I like to pick Maiev. So I think her best maps are the macro maps, where you can do a lot of mercs and get a lot of wave prio, which I think is one of her biggest strengths, especially with the Q build with Nishas, where you can solo camps pretty easily. And even if your Nishas isn't up, you can clear waves pretty quickly as well. But I wouldn't recommend playing her solo lane, even though you can clear waves really well, because she doesn't really have the greatest health pool for like the solo lane role, and she doesn't have any self sustain either. And so that would be one of her weaknesses is her lack of self-sustain and the fact that she isn't that tanky. She kind of makes up for that by having her escape ability, her E, and also Vault of the Wardens. But as a solo lane, definitely wouldn't recommend. I would recommend her picking her in like the DPS slot, and especially if you need like a DPS hero that has wave clear that can also be a bit more independent and do camps as well. So the maps that she's best on are like Dragonshire, Garden of Terror, Alterac Pass, Cursed Hollow, and Sky Temple. And a big reason is because she can clear those side waves, she can do the camps, and also she's really strong at ganking, especially in the early to mid game, where you can quickly like clear a wave in one part of the map, go out of vision, and then you can decide to either gank somewhere or do a camp, depending on what's going on throughout the game. And I'd say her weaker maps are the ones where you can't really get that much macro value, so like BOE, Braxis, and Volskaya, especially because on these maps you also like brawl a lot, and she isn't that great at taking like extended long brawls and poke wars because she will run out of resources, and you do get kind of punished for not having as much range as other assassins in the game. And leading into that, I would say probably her biggest counters are those range assassins who can poke her out. So stuff like Tracer or Lunara, who are very like slippery and stay out of your range, or even stuff like Hanzo and Vala, where they just keep poking you and kiting you all the time. She can really struggle into that since she is pretty short range. And another big counter I'd say is Lucio, because Lucio can cleanse all your engages and he can speed away everyone so that you can't really get Q resets. And a big part of her strength is getting Q resets. So drafts I like to pick her into are like triple melee drafts or even quad melee drafts. So for instance, if they have like a Karazim or Rhaegar healer, and then like a Diablo or Blaze for the front line, plus like another frontliner like a Hogger, and then ideally they'd even have another melee there, or even like a pseudo melee or a short range hero like Greymane or even like Sylvanas or Tychus. So yeah, that's generally what I look for is like melee heroes because that way you can get Q resets a lot easier. And the Q build, it's all about is you're basically like a range assassin because in your Q range, so if you got all the Q talents, which is again like the build that we're focusing on here, basically you're like a range hero. You're like a mid-range range hero. So like okay, let me set to level 20. So the general idea is that you just poke from the mid range, and you use your E and W. So the Q is like your main damage ability, right? And you're just using that to like poke from mid range and do a ton of damage. So you don't really want to be playing into drafts that are gonna split up a lot, especially drafts that can poke you out and outrange your Q. But you'd much rather prefer to play into drafts that are shorter range and especially like more aggressive team comps that are gonna run into you because if they're running into you, it's way easier for you to land your Q resets than if they're always running away from you. And then yeah, I just like to think of her E and W as kind of like accessories to your Q. Like your Q is your bread and butter, and then your E and W, like you can use them to go for picks or for mobility. Like E, I mainly like to use for mobility. I don't usually like to use it for damage. The main way I like to use it is to just reposition. Maybe if you're going for an aggressive gank or you want to go over a wall to look for a pick, or like for a wave clear, it's also fine. But outside of that, I just like to use it for like escaping most of the time and repositioning. So that's like why I don't really like the E build, for instance. And then yeah, the W, like you normally just follow up with that off of your other CC, or if someone's like really out of position, or you get like a nice flank or something, and like you can use that for like picks in the early game as well. So yeah, going over the Q build, so Nitra's Memento, I think this is one of her strongest talents because this really unlocks the macro potential of the hero, where you can do the camps really, really fast. And you can also clear waves really fast without having to use your cooldowns, which can be relevant for like if you want to quickly clear a wave and then go team fight right after, you don't really want to use your E and W on the wave. And also like if you're worried about mana as well. But yeah, generally use it for camps, and then you can also pop it in the middle of the team fight. It never hurts because sometimes the auto splash can do a little bit of extra damage. So yeah, Nitro is really, really strong. One of my favorite talents. And at level 4, I normally like to go pin down because if you get even one stack of pin down, it's going to outweigh the Blade Dance in terms of damage. And it's also less conditional than Blade Dance because Blade Dance requires them to be right around you. So they basically have to be within your physical radius, which most of the time isn't happening if you're keeping them like at a distance to land your Qs. So because it's conditional and because pinned down, all you need is one stack. All you need to hit is 3 heroes one time. And even if you get this like pretty late in the game, I think it's still gonna be better than the physical damage one most of the time. And another thing to consider is the E at level 4, but again, we're not really talking about E build. And like I said, I don't really like to go E build too much. So yeah, this is a Q build. And 7, Q again. This is where your mid game damage really starts to spike, getting the extra star on the targets. And then 10, so 10, I really like Containment Disc. I think it's one of the best ults in the game because it's such a low cooldown. You can use it to fish for picks, you can use it to stall enemy heroes, you can use it in the middle of the team fight to isolate a target, or to stop healing, or to split up the enemy team. There's just so many things you can do with this. You can use it to disengage, engage. So, and 40-second cooldown is like so insane. It silences them after as well. So definitely highly recommend Disc. Cage can be good if you want to go for like the big wombo combo team fight, but for like kind of like the macro and like pick playstyle and like Q damage playstyle, I don't think it really fits it that much. And I think the cooldown is just too long, and it's like too high cost, especially compared to Disc. Like I feel like losing Disc hurts a lot. And then Q, sticking with, or sorry, 13, sticking with the theme, just going Q again for some extra armor whenever you're getting those resets, makes you a little bit tankier. And 16, this is probably her biggest power spike. This talent does like a disgusting amount of damage, and I think it's really overpowered. This is basically like you're gonna do more damage than most range heroes if you just get like 2 or 3 resets in the team fight, because your level 4, 7, and 16 all combined. Like all you need is like 2 or 3 resets, and like your DPS is just ridiculous. You can basically win the fight anytime they clump up. And the thing about HOTS is like they're always gonna clump up at some point. You just have to be ready for it and like be in a good position to punish it. So that's basically the playstyle. Just keep them in front of you, you Q them, and then if you can go for picks with your E and W and with your disc, and if you can like gank people or like clear sideways and do camps, that's also nice. And usually, like clearing the sideways and getting the picks is, or clearing the sideways and doing the camps is gonna lead to like good team fights, because if you're getting wave prio all the time and you're like pressuring the map, then you can always just quickly go for a gank and like a collapse in like a 4v3 or like a 5v4. So yeah, that's basically the Q build. Keep them in front of you, press Q, and yeah, let's jump into the replay. So here's the replay. This was a competitive game that we played against Ammonite at the Heroes International LAN event last year. And the reason why we picked Maiev here is because they're pretty short range, and they're also basically quadruple melee, because Tyrael, Blaze, Rhaegar melee, and then Greymane is going to go melee in a lot of the fights. And they also don't have that much range, so they can't really punish Maiev with the range. And so actually this game, I didn't actually think I played this well on Maiev, but I think it's still a good replay. I'd say I give myself like a 6 out of 10 for my performance this game, but I still think it's a good game to go over because you can see the general play style and you can see some of like the macro advantages and also like what basically you want to look for on the hero. So just fast forwarding, we're just giving mid wave here because we didn't want to brawl the level 1 for whatever reason. I don't really remember. This was like a year ago, so but yeah, just give the mid wave, and yeah, generally your job is to like clear away from your team as Maiev. So like if your team is gonna be 3-manning bot, then you want to be clearing mid, and then vice versa. Like if your team is 3-manning mid, then you want to clear bot. And the reason why you want to be the one who's clearing away is because you don't have range. So if you're playing into the range heroes, you're gonna get poked out. And so it's better for you to clear on the side and then collapse later on, or then do a merc camp later on. That way you're avoiding bad trades and you're also still getting value on the map. And so yeah, like as a melee assassin or as a melee hero in general, like you do want to avoid the range heroes unless you're like actually looking to fight them. So that's just like a good rule of thumb of like I try not to match into range heroes because they're just gonna poke you down. So instead, like I'd rather just clear waves away from them, and then if they ever split up or if we ever get an advantageous situation where someone's out of position or we have a numbers advantage, then I can start to look to fight their range heroes. And here, yeah, we're holding the camp because they capped their camp first. So I did the camp there with Nishas, as you saw, and then we're holding this one because the wave is coming in here. So it's always good. Like, if you know both teams are doing the camp, it's good for you to cap second. That way, whenever you clear their camp, your camp is safe. So you see there, like, both our camps are safe. And yeah, here just off clearing again, trying to avoid their team. So this is what I mean by, like, off clear, where you clear fast, and then you look for the rotation. Unfortunately here though, I left the midpoint and they ended up getting the dragon. I think this was maybe a bit of miscommunication. I think I just didn't expect them to go cap, or maybe we expected to get one of the points. I don't remember exactly what happened, but definitely a mistake for me going for the. Like you saw, you kind of saw the idea. I was like get mid wave in and then go for the top gank, but we kind of forgot about mid. So pretty tragic, but it's early DK, so not that big of a deal. And I'll just fast forward as we clear it until we get into the next fight, which I think I'll probably end up basing here too. Yeah, not really much to see, just clearing, and then okay, now we base. So originally I wanted to go for midway, but we saw that they're on this camp, so I had to come collapse bottom. And I always like to clear the wave first before I go for any fight, especially because if you like fight while the wave is pushed into you, then you're like giving up a wave for no reason. And also like gives them an angle to flank from if they have the wave pushed in. So that's just a good rule of thumb is like before you like commit to a point, you normally want to clear the nearest wave nearby and try to get that wave prio. But yeah, we just wrestled the camp away since we had double boop Junkrat, and we're just pushing the towers here a bit. Not really too much to see here. It's kind of hard for me to go for a play since they're aware that we're looking. And actually, am I gonna die here? Ooh. Okay, this is how not to play Maiev. So overextended a bit there. So as you can see, sometimes you bite off a little more than you can chew. I think I just didn't expect to die because I thought I could just walk away, but sadly we got ran down. Yeah, this team is a pretty strong team. So some of the top Korean players in the world, you probably recognize some of these names from like HGC, like Hyde, Reset, and Spell is actually Tist, who was world champion with Genji. So yeah, pretty high level. And yeah, this was a LAN event, so maybe feeling a bit of the nerves or whatnot, but hey, all good. As melee hero, like you're gonna end up inting here and there, but it's still good to like keep your confidence and like just be ready for the next play, you know. So here I collapse on bottom, and right there. So what I did, I made another misplay here. Is basically what I was looking to do is I was looking to tether the gray main off of the giant here, because if he's in melee range, like because it cleaves, right? So if he's like a little bit closer, it's gonna tether him from the giant. And the reason why I didn't E first is because if I E first and then tether him, then he's just gonna go into Worgen form and he won't get tethered because he's gonna stay in my range, if that makes sense. Because like the way the tether works is you have to like they have to like it has to break right before the pull actually happens. So usually what I like to do is whenever they're in melee range like this, I like to pull them first because then I can E away. And so if you E away, so like if this landed, I would have E'd away. And the reason behind that is he's gonna walk back into me so it doesn't pull. But if you E away, then you force the issue where they can't just walk on top of you. So that's always like a really nice play you can make is you W and then you E away. But that's only if they're in melee range or if they're like on a creep wave like that or behind the giant like that. So yeah, just barely missed. That was like the general idea. It's like most of the time it's more reliable than EW, but you can mess up like that and like they get out of range. There you see like some nice trade damage there. So I actually ended up winning that trade pretty hard just because we got a few Q resets. And that's generally the idea is like anytime they clump, you should just be trying to hit your Qs on them. And there's no like really easy way to get better at landing Q besides just practicing it. And just like practice makes perfect. And the more you play the hero, the more you'll start to like notice when they're clumping up. And there's always gonna be stages throughout the game where they clump up. So here we go for the disc into the boop combo with the cocoon. So this was actually really good synergy from us. So actually let's break this down. And this is kind of the synergy you want to look for in the high level is that all of this happens just through like practice as a team and thinking ahead. So the idea is that we hit 10 right away, there's still 9, right? And so we want to fish for the disc. If this lands, we make the play. If it doesn't, we just chill, right? So like that's why I like this. It's not like very committal. You can just throw it out. So it lands. So instantly what we do is we throw a boop under the Greymane and we cocoon the Rhaegar because Rhaegar is going to be the guy to try to save Greymane. And the boop should knock him back into my pull. And then also really good play from Cattle here is understanding that Tyrell's going to Q in and try to sink. So Cattle actually stuns the Tyrael so that he can't sink. Unfortunately, Madara missed the boop, so we actually couldn't make the play, which that happens, just a slight misplay. And as you can see here, because Tyrael sorted in and Cattle stunned him, I do go for the tether. And so one thing you can do with the tether is, if they are in melee range like this, you can always auto and then W for the auto attack reset. See there, boom, auto W. So that's always like a nice little play you can make. And yeah, they're just like a bunch of ults thrown out. They kind of have to throw out silence to disengage, and we had to throw out Riptire because we expected the boop to land. So yeah, just a cooldown trade there. Overall, it favored them, but we got a lot of good damage back on them, so not too bad for us. And here, I got my Nitrous proc, and our Night Camp is up, so I'm just gonna go tap and go to that. So anytime you're in like a downtime phase like this throughout the game, whenever you have Nitrous up, it's a really great time to go get out a quick camp. And that's just like part of the macro strength of the hero is that you can solo these camps pretty effectively. And again, like going for the wave clear here on mid. So every time you like clear a wave, you should always be thinking about what to do next. So here, like I'm thinking if we get on top, which we got top, then maybe we could pressure mid. But now they have 2 mid, so maybe I can go pressure a gank on bot. Again, like always looking for resets when I can. And it looks like we're trying to cap mid, we couldn't get it. So now I always want to be making those decisions. So here, like I see still mid, I know he can't really rotate easily, so I go collapse on bot. So I always go to just like think about where you can get the most value. And so I always like to lead with disc in this situation. It's always good to throw it into, if they're ever like clumped up like this, it's nice to throw it into a clump because if the first guy dodges it, it'll normally hit the second guy. And it's good to lead with it because you're basically like cocooning one guy and then you can go on someone else. So it's kind of like the idea. And there, yeah, like this guy's so out of position that EW is better here. Unfortunately, we booped him away. So, yeah, a bit of a misplay. He got cleansed anyways, so I guess it's fine. But yeah, even still, like just winning the trade really hard because they do inevitably end up clumping. So yeah, anytime they clump, you want to punish as much as you can. I even popped the nitrous there, and then I got a reset right away. So good to pop the nitrous in the middle of the fight just for a little bit extra damage whenever you can. And so here Sylvie's in. I popped the vault just in case he could punish me. And again, just going for resets. So now we get the dragon. So the name of the game here is just to kind of troll them down here and try to make sure that if they all go mid, then we get value on bottom. If they all stay at bottom, we get value on mid. So this is kind of just a classic macro, tug and pull type thing where you force a mid, then you push bot, you force a bot, you push mid. So this is really good for Dragon Chart early game macro. What I talked about in one of my last videos as well. And so yeah, just trolling. I just throw out a disc just to fish. And if we hit it, we hit it. If we don't, we don't. It's like such a low cooldown. You can always just kind of throw it out willy-nilly. And there you saw like kind of what I was talking about earlier of like the W, then EOA. Unfortunately, it was a little too deep with the disengage, but we got mid 4 off of that, so still worth overall. There, so I had Nitro, so instead of backing, since we saw them rotating to mid, we had a small timer here. So this is like another really big advantage of Nitros. You can quickly burst out the camps before they can react. So always good to like stay active. And I'm like trying to hold this camp before they get here. The reason why was because we're on this camp, so it's always nice to like try to stack up both camps. That way they collapse at the same time and they don't just free clear. But it looks like they're gonna free clear this anyways. Oh yeah, Blaze actually collapses here. So again, like whenever they're running into the Q resets, so easy to land. And yeah, it's still good to be aggressive, even though we know it's 5v4 and like Blaze could be here. It's still good to like force him to come at least, and that way like we're still getting value on like the other side of the map, and we maybe force him into a bad engage. And the diss is just to like it's just like a troll build. Like you literally just throw out anybody and it's fine, you know, like it'll at least piss them off, right? And then like they're always gonna clump, so like anytime they clump, you just want to punish. And like you see, even though he's auto attacking me, I'm actually out trading them because I'm doing damage to 2 heroes, and I basically chunked them for like 1,000 health right there. So yeah, Qs are just really OP. It's basically just the name of the game. Throw Qs at them, they will eventually die. That's basically it. And now I base, get some mana, get some HP. I think I'm probably gonna int here soon. I feel like the way I'm playing, I'm probably gonna int soon. I'm playing like very disrespectful here, which part of it is because of their draft. Like they don't really have a lot of CC. It's really only Blaze stun, so that's part of why I'm playing disrespectful. But a lot of it as well is because we're getting value on the map. So like forcing those Blaze rotations, forcing them to like chase me, it means we're getting value elsewhere. And so yeah, like it's always good to like try to stay active. We're kind of just ARAMing bot here, but a lot of it is because they don't really have CC, so they can't really punish us. So yeah, just throwing out another disc. If we get the boop, I think that boop was a little misplaced, but it's still good to like fish, you know. And now Blaze is here, and again, you saw how I pulled him, so I keep doing that. I think that's like one of the best combos, like you W then you E away. I like that one like a lot more than Eing in first, because it just feels a lot safer. And it also like puts you in a better position to Q. So like if I W him, so I throw my E first, I W him here. A lot of times I clump after. So if I had Q here, then I get an easy Q reset. So that's another big reason why. But if I E and then I W, then I'm kind of like trapped in the middle of them, and I'm gonna take a lot of trade damage back. And a lot of times like it's a lot harder to hit the reset when you're like in the middle of them all. So yeah, I just like to keep them like kind of in front of me in that crescent. And so Eing backwards and Wing is always like a nicer play in my opinion. And it's also like, hey, we're playing a bit passive because Urella's mid, so we're just kind of trolling them in the 4v5. And I'm just like going for aggressive resets. I definitely wouldn't be playing this aggressive if they had like a CC tank like a Varian or something, or if they had like a Brightwing Polymorph. So it's always good to like know what you're against as well and like what can punish you. So yeah, I go for a little sneaky play. So it's always good to like try to play these side flanks and bushes, because a lot of times they'll face check you like even at the high level, especially if they see your tank elsewhere. So like we see Blaze here, we know it's 4v4, so that's why I'm going for a little engage here. And yeah, their healer and their tank face check me, so there should be kills here, ideally. But unfortunately, I missed the reset. And the choke is kind of awkward. And so we just disengage. Unfortunately, we got kind of owned by the Holy Ground. And Legacy died. But it is what it is. Not too bad, not too big of a deal. And yeah, again here, WE out. So I just really like that trade pattern. But you can always experiment and see like what works for you. To me, like that just feels the best. And maybe I just did it because it was this game. So like a lot of times I'll just like feel out the game and just like I said, she's like very creative. So every game you play with her, you can kind of just feel what's getting the most value for you and like adjust throughout the game. So the big thing is just like adjusting to how the enemy is playing. So if you want to like E in aggressive, if you want to like be more follow up, if you want to like hold disc a bit more, hold it for certain abilities, just throw like there. I'm just throwing it out willy nilly. So like, I like to just experiment sometimes and just see what's working. But overall, as long as you're hitting Q resets and you're not inting too much, you're pretty much chilling. So you see there, like the Qs are just so OP. I think this build is just so busted. Like now that I'm 16, like look how much damage I can do here. As soon as they clump up, and like always trying to like wait for them to clump up. They're like I E away, Q two people. That's like 700 damage right there, and then boom, another big Q, big damage, big damage. Like basically like just destroying them. It's just OP. I think it's busted. I don't even have my pin down quest yet, but as soon as I get one stack, it's like another 35% damage. And then, yeah, sometimes I like to E away and then just troll them. I don't know why I did that. Sometimes you can get like some resets on the way out though. And here again, another little lull phase or like waiting phase. Always do the camps, get sideways on that. This is kind of a weird game because we've been like ARAM bot all game. Normally you'd roam a lot more and like gank other lanes more, but I think it's just because Urel is winning the matchup against Blaze so hard that I think that's why we're playing bottom like ARAM the whole game. I think probably a lot of it also has to do with the fact that we want to defend our bottom fort and not give it for free. And I feel like they feel kind of pigeonholed into all ending bot because they know they can't really gank Urel. So yeah, so every game's unique. Like different things are gonna happen. Sometimes you're A-ramming bot. Sometimes you're like roaming all over the place. But again, just like kind of feeling it out. So they're like, yeah, sometimes just throw out disc just to like troll them or maybe look for a pick. I think we realized here that Blaze was collapsing, so I go on the top side to like cut him off a bit just to like spot the flank. So it's good to like spot the flankers. That way you're like prepared for it. And they're just using the vault. Always good to like try to save the vault for like big CC spells. There I engage. I don't really know why I did that. And I'm dead. That looked like a bit of a limit test. I don't know what that was about. I think I was just feeling myself a little too much. That was a big int. But yeah, like I said, 6 out of 10 Maiev game. This is basically a how not to play Maiev guide. No, just kidding. I think sometimes you're going to have to limit test like that. Definitely wouldn't recommend in the super late game because you might throw. But it's okay in the mid game to like take like early mid game. I think that's a good time to take risk, like figure out what you can and can't do, and as long as you're like self-assessing and understanding why something was a bad play or why it was a good play, that's kind of like how you grow as a player. So, for instance, that was a bad play because Blaze was there, and Wailing Arrow can stop the sound barrier. So that's why that was a bad play. But at the same time, the idea was okay because we are getting a ton of value on the top side. So if I troll them, if I like survive there and I force them to use resources and force them to stay there, then we get a ton of value on the map. So that was kind of like the overall idea, just not too great on execution. So yeah, just always try to have that as you're like playing the hero and you're getting more games on it. Just it's very, very important to have that mindset of growing and learning and building your intuition, building your muscle memory, and understanding why a certain play is good or why a certain play is bad, and like just trying to maximize your overall value throughout the game. And so here, okay, we get the dragon, we siege. Now this is a neat little play that I made there, basically a blind disc. So like this you can do if you have a general idea where they are. Like sometimes you know someone might be in a bush. So this, like I said, it's only 40-second cooldown. So a lot of times you can just throw it out and fish for a pick, especially here. So this is a unique situation that I recognize that Blaze is top and Rhaegar is dead for 11 seconds. So they can only be 3 heroes here. And so they're probably either here, here, or here. So I figured that if I just start an early disc, it's no harm, no foul. Since we're just sieging anyways, we're probably not going to all-in engage. If I land the disc, it's probably a kill. If I miss the disc, whatever, it'll be back up, right? So it's kind of like the idea here. And then, yeah, the blind, like the EN blind disc, it's a cute little play. Like you can go for that sometimes. Like I said, I'm just playing like I just play off intuition most of the time. Just whatever like I just feel is right. But like that you kind of just build over a long period of time. I was kind of lucky. You can say kind of lucky, kind of calculated, but this should be a kill because yeah, Rhaegar dead for 6. If we just boop him, then he's gonna die. Like he'll get trapped, tethered, double a new Brack stunned. Should be a free kill. Unfortunately, Madara missed yet another boop. I remember getting mad at him for this because I think he missed a Greymane one earlier. Then he saved the Greymane here, and then I think the Sylve one he missed. I specifically remember getting a little upset, but it is what it is. It's just I made a good play and then he booped him away, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Even Cattle followed up with the E. But yeah, like I said, no harm, no foul. Good to fish. And like we're sieging anyway, so and disc will be it's already like 25 seconds. Like the ability is just so busted. Please go disc. Highly recommend. Unless you're playing against me, then please go cage. But yeah, see here, just Q resets, Q resets. Just trying to chunk them. Find any opportunities I can. There, I finally got my pin down stack right there, so I got it level 20. I still don't regret taking it. That's how strong I think it is. Because now I'll have it for the rest of the game. And you never know. Like, I could have got it at level 5 this game. You know, like, sometimes that happens. So, I still like taking it because, yes, it's, like, slightly high risk. But I think the other talents are so much worse that it's, like, worth the risk. Yeah, we finished it here. Now we got the big power spike, the double vault jump, really, really OP. And also the 20, I think, oh, I forgot to go over the 20s, but I like the move speed one because 40% move speed's OP. And that's basically it. And so yeah, here, we're team fighting. I throw out the disc to engage with the Riptire follow up. Yeah, use a move speed there to try to get the tether off, but it gets cleansed. And then here, just trying to like Q them when they clump. Fortunately, I think I don't really land any resets here. And they hit a nice sink. And I think Liam doesn't get ult off here. I would say I played this fight pretty bad overall, though, just because... Well, that was a nice tether into the trap there. That was a nice little play on the way out. We get a nice little kill on the way out. I don't know why there's random bird noises, by the way, but it is what it is. And then there, yeah. Anytime they're chasing, the Q's going to be so much easier to land. So you should always look for those when you're getting chased down. A lot of times you can turn a bad fight with, like, hitting Q resets and a disc whenever they chase. We ultimately decide not to turn here because Blaze is flanking, but it's always good to, like, look for that. Because, again, like, no harm, no foul. Disc will be back up soon. Yeah, anytime they're chasing, you should try to hit those Q resets. And yeah, overall, I'd say I played that fight kind of bad because I didn't hit that many Q resets, but sometimes you're not going to land them all. It is what it is. Okay, on to the next fight. So again, another little downtime here. Gonna do the hard camp. This is like where you would do the nulls on like Alterac as well, or whatever other camps on any other map. And yeah, that's just the beauty of Nishas. You can just burst that out solo. And so here again, like side clear. So this is kind of your job. Like I said, like if you're 3 man's mid, solo lane's top. This is your job to clear the side lane, and it's very nice for you because you're pretty much ungankable since you have your E and you have double jump, and you have disc as well. And yeah, I see them top side as well, so it's even safer. Just here, this is just like a macro play. Okay, you go for a fort, but what if I just go for your keep, right? And like they realize that, hey, that's not a great trade for us, so always just thinking about the macro value. And by getting in this wave, we basically completely wrestle map control, and they have to show on all these waves. So yeah, I just take a nice neutral position and try brush, and this should just secure the Dragon Knight because they can't really risk going for bottom because they could get ran down, or we could even alternatively split push. So but this is just some basic macro. And now we're gonna siege again. Always want to bring in the wave before you siege. Not really much else to see here. I think we do end up... Oh, okay. We send the Blaze. So tether follow-up is always good. Ooh, I didn't D that. Oh, no. Am I dead? Oh, I did the go for the throat. Okay, yeah, that was pretty awfully played by me. I definitely should have died. So, basically, I just had to D the Blaze stun. I didn't. I went for the Q instead. Greedy, 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 greedy. Again, how not to play Maiev. Always, don't be like me. Always D their CC ability. Always jump their CC ability. Thankfully, at least, I got to go for the throat jump. And Legacy bailed me out with the sound barrier. And the disc as well, just on the way out. And maybe you can always turn on those discs. And yeah, see, before I I always like to throw a couple Qs. Because the damage adds up. And yeah, just gonna heal up here. I got my move speed talent back, so I'll probably look for a play with the move speed soon. And yeah, we just need to heal up. Our DK is still full HP, so we're gonna go in for another siege. And so here the basic idea is I'm just gonna Q reset them, and then if we do land a CC, maybe I could pull somebody. So there, I finally did the Blaze stun, so that's what I was supposed to do the first time. And yeah, I use the move speed, so that's like a nice little application of the 20 for the move speed. Is sometimes you don't have your E, but someone's out of position. So like right here, the Blaze, he's still out of position here because the new Cattle stuns him twice. But I'm slowed by the oil. So this is where the 20 talent comes in clutch, where I can use the move speed to pull the out of position target. We don't actually do anything with it. Oh, I actually get a fat reset there, so that's another quest stack. So now my Q is doing 40%, pretty nice, and the damage is adding up. You see, the Blaze, there's no reason why my hero should do that much damage to Blaze. Yeah, Q and Maiev busted. But basically, that's like all my damage, by the way. And he tapped, and he got like 2 Rhaegar heals. So basically, Maiev Q is busted. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Just press Q on them. Jump the CC if you can. Throw out disc whenever you feel like it. E and W are optional abilities. Press Q on them, profit. Try not to int as much as me. Do camps when you can. Follow up off CC. What else? Try to always be mindful of like what you need to use your trait on. So like every game's gonna be different. Sometimes you gotta save it for a Pyroblast. Sometimes you just are out of position and you gotta just get yourself out. Like whenever they were chasing me, I had to double jump out. So yeah, always just try to be mindful of the best time to use it. So here, just disking the guy to secure the camp, using nitrous to secure the camp. Always a good application of the disc. Here they're kind of pinching us. So I want to just try to E out of here because this is a tough choke for all of us to be in. And whenever you're like clumped up like this, it's always good to try to spread out as much as you can. So that's why I just take the E to other side. So now we're a little bit less clumped. It also gives me a better angle, as you can see. Now hitting the Qs will be a little bit easier because I give myself a little bit of a better angle. Because if I'm like down here trapped, first of all, I'm going to be hit by everything that they're throwing into the choke. But also the Q is a little bit more awkward. So now this makes it a little bit easier for when they clump up. I have a slightly better angle. And the Ural slow is also going to help me out here. See, the Q damage is so disgusting. Look at Greymane's health, actually. Rewind it a little bit. So look at the Greymane's health. These Q talents are just not balanced. I mean, he gets minus 20 armor, but like, look, he's basically full health, right? 1 Q, by the way, does that much damage? And the next Q, oh my, he's already half HP. he's already half HP. I mean, it's just not balanced. And Madara got owned. Get wrecked. You see, so you want to be looking at all sides of the fight too. So like, I see the Tyrell. Even though I want to finish a Greymane kill, you always want to get some value out of the Umbral Bind. So there again, Umbral Bind. Make sure you get the tether. Q to finish. It's good to. It's still good to Q single targets if you have to. Ideally, use it on 2 people, but if you're like securing a kill, always fine. Or like sometimes, you know your Q's gonna be back up for whenever they clump again. There's only 4-second cooldown, so I think you can just throw it out whenever. After 16, if you're gonna hit a single target with it, that's a DPS or like finishing a kill. It's completely fine. But yeah. Anyways, we're just gonna try to clean up the fight here. I am just autoing minions. Okay, do I do anything here? Okay, finally hit the blaze again. Q to secure the kill. And then finally, last little play here. Do I do anything here? Oh yeah, disc is back up again because it's balance ability. And there, nice little disc. Even though he got cleansed, he can't take that E because I disced him. So that's a nice little use of disc there too. Is you can secure kills like that. And that's basically a wrap. I think that I probably forgot to say some things about Maiev, but I hope y'all got the general idea of how to play the Q build Maiev. Like I said before, every game's unique, so I think most of the time at Maiev, I'm like on the other side of the map more. Like normally I gank top here and there, and normally I'm not just ARAMing bot all game. And also I like to say normally I don't int twice, but we'll call it a limit test. And yeah, if y'all have any other questions about Maiev that I might have forgot to go over, let me know. And let me know what hero y'all want next time. Anyways, that'll be it for today. Thank you everybody for watching. Please make sure you subscribe and like the video and comment any positive or negative feedback. And yeah, peace out.